Hey there, how are you? As most of you have probably seen and heard, there's been a lot of chatter in the media about the Epstein files lately. They're finally going to be released. Maybe by the time you're watching this, they have been released. I don't know. But since that is what's going on, I just wanted to take a few minutes before you hear it from someone else and before it gets all twisted and taken out of context. You know how these things go, to explain why my name appears in the Epstein files over 11,000 times. I get how it looks, but it's perfectly innocent. Let me get this out of the way. Yes, I've been to the island. Yes, I've been on the plane. Yes, I've been to the townhouse in Manhattan, and the mansion in Palm Beach, and the ranch in New Mexico, and the apartment in Paris. But there are reasons for all of those visits, legitimate reasons that have nothing to do with, you know, take the first time I met Jeffrey Epstein, for instance. That wasn't even what I was trying to do. I had no idea who he even was, all right? I was in New York hanging out with a buddy of mine, and we're trying to think of something to do, and he says to me, "Hey, I know, why don't we go to Jeffrey's place?" And I said to my buddy, I'm not going to name him, I said, "Your Highness, I don't know who you're talking about. Who's Jeffrey?" And he says, "Jeffrey is always having cool parties." So I'm like, all right, let's go to Jeffrey's, because when I hear cool party, I think finished basement with a pool table and we're going to order a pizza at some point, not booze and drug-fueled night of debauchery and sex crimes. I mean, who would think that? Right? Anyway, I know what you want to ask me, but no, I didn't actually see anything that night. I heard about all the debauchery and sex crimes that supposedly took place there secondhand, after the fact. I witnessed none of it myself, because as it turns out, there was a pool table, and I spent the whole night shooting pool and drinking beer and eating pizza, and I had a great time. As far as I knew, there was nothing illegal or immoral going on, unless you count how I got hustled at the pool table by a certain smooth criminal, naming no names. I barely even saw Jeffrey Epstein that night. I met him right after we arrived, and then he disappeared upstairs and didn't come down for like hours. And yeah, I saw some girls being led in and out of that room he went into, and yeah, sure, maybe they seemed a little young, but do I know how old they were? No. I wasn't checking IDs. I was trying to avoid scratching for the third shot in a row. Why do I always agree to play pool for money when I know I suck at it? That's the part that bothers me. Now, I think that should be more than enough to demonstrate how plausible it is that I could have known Jeffrey Epstein and been to his house without knowing about any of that stuff he got sent to prison for. But for those of you with a suspicious nature who need a little more evidence, how about this? I'm in South Florida at an arcade playing air hockey with another friend of mine whose anonymity I will also protect, so don't even ask me. And Jeffrey Epstein walks up and says to my friend, "Hey, I loved you in Rush Hour. If you guys want to play air hockey, you should come to my place. I have a sweet air hockey table, and I'll let you play for free." How do you turn down an offer like that? So we go to his place in Palm Beach. We play air hockey. I kick ass because I actually am good at air hockey. And at some point, I guess I must have eaten some bad sushi because I wound up spending the rest of the night in the bathroom, which, aside from the obvious, was not so bad. That bathroom was amazing. The whole thing was done floor to ceiling in black and white polished statuary marble with gold fixtures. I mean, anybody who saw that bathroom would want one just like it in their house. And apparently, while I was in the bathroom, Jeffrey's friend Ghislaine showed up with a bunch of teenagers, and they took over the air hockey table, and Jeffrey decided it was loser takes her clothes off rules. But I didn't find out about that until my friend told me about it later. Sure, I get it. I was there the night Jeffrey Epstein hosted a strip air hockey tournament with a dozen adolescent girls. Sounds bad. But that's why it's important to get the story from me and not just take what you read on social media or watch on the news as the gospel truth. Because now that I've explained it, you can plainly see that I did absolutely nothing that anybody should be mad about. Right? Those are just two examples. But trust me, The rest of the more than 11,000 separate events involving me described in the Epstein files are just like that. Did I know him? Yes. Was I friends with him? I mean, define friend. I'm friendly with a lot of people. Did me and Jeffrey Epstein hang out? Yeah. Was I at his house? Yeah. But I had no idea what he was up to. Do you know everything that goes on at your friends' houses? I bet you don't. And Jeffrey's houses were all huge. So many rooms and multiple floors. If you decided to hide, it would take hours to find you. In fact, this one time a girl did hide, and it did take them like all day to locate her. She didn't get out. They locked down the building as soon as they realized she was missing. And I mean, it's not like she could have gotten that far anyway. This was on the island. But yeah, she led the security detail on quite a chase. So I'm told. I was unaware of any of the details of this while it was actually happening. The house had this one room that was nothing but vintage arcade games. So I was in there all day trying to beat Dragon's Lair. That fucker is hard, man. Also, I think this must have been a custom version of the game because I'm pretty sure in the original Princess Daphne isn't still in high school. The point is, maybe your radar is more sensitive than mine is. If so, hey, good for you. But I think most of us probably have no idea what our friends have going on in their houses when we're not paying attention. And those are our friends with just normal-sized houses, not multiple gigantic houses in locations all over the world. You know, cut me some slack. I'm expecting a lot of people to freak out over the number of times I mentioned in the Epstein files more than anything else. 11,000, you must have been best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. You must have done everything he did. Once again, this is why you come to the source, okay? According to my attorney, most of those 11,000 mentions of my name in the Epstein files are related to phone calls, text messages, and emails between Jeffrey Epstein and myself. So we weren't even in the same place. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you the name of my attorney either, but trust me, he's experienced in cases like this, and he knows what he's talking about. The other day, I said to him, Alan, do I have anything to worry about here? And he said, absolutely not. I'm more convinced of your innocence than I have been of any client since I defended Klaus von Bülow. And you can take that to the bank. And if you're thinking, I don't know, that still sounds like an awful lot of phone calls, texts, and emails, I guess you've just never had a friend who was constantly texting you, because you can rack up 11,000 texts pretty quick. And by the way, those texts have been in the hands of investigators for years now. If there was anything illegal in there, I'm sure I would have heard about it. In fact, right when we first started texting each other, Jeffrey sent me a message that said, and I quote, "Don't worry, I'll never send you anything incriminating." So are we done? A lot of those phone calls were so dry and just about carrying out boring bits of business between us. You read a headline that says, phone logs contain over 1,000 hours of conversations between so-and-so and Jeffrey Epstein, and your mind goes to all sorts of lurid places. But a bunch of those calls were just about working out the details of, like, when I was going to fly to the island to see the private show he promised me. See, there you go again, jumping to the worst possible conclusion. Private show on Epstein Island. I wonder what that was. It was a magic show, for your information. A clean, family-friendly magic show, just like you'd see at any number of Las Vegas hotels. It turned out that Jeffrey was acquainted with my favorite magician, who I will not identify, but who also has his own island in that general area. And this magician came over to the Florida place for dinner one night, and I was there, as were some young women who I did not know and did not really talk to because I'm shy. And it was a great night of food and magic, and when it was over, I left, and whatever else happened after that, I don't know. But I will say this. Maybe once you have vanished the Statue of Liberty or walked through the Great Wall of China, then you can sit in judgment of who people choose to associate with. People jump to conclusions. That's like 95% of the problem. They hear a little fragment of the story and they act like they know the whole thing. Well, you don't, okay? I'm already trying to psychologically brace myself for all the brain-rotted questions I'm about to get from the media after choosing of my own volition to publicly share all of this. Did any of the girls ever ask you for help getting away? Did Jeffrey Epstein ever offer to traffic girls to you? Were you there the night Donald Trump sucked Bill Clinton's dick? And right there you show your ignorance, because let's say, hypothetically, that I saw Donald Trump suck off Bill Clinton. Doesn't mean I wanted to. Maybe I was in another room doing my own thing, but Jeffrey interrupted and wouldn't let me finish playing MLB The Show on his Xbox until I agreed to go watch. But, and this is all still hypothetical, unless you give me a specific date, there's no way I can tell you if the night I witnessed Donald Trump suck Bill Clinton's cock to completion and swallow his load like it was a fucking McDonald's milkshake was the night you're referring to, and unless you can approach me with some facts, I'm just not gonna do this dance with you. If Mr. Epstein, if Epstein did all of those things he was accused of and convicted of with kids, which, I don't know, there's two sides to every story, but if he did do all those things, it's not like that's all he ever did, right? So just because the Epstein files record over 11,000 specific points of contact between convicted sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein and myself, that doesn't automatically reflect poorly on me. Innocent bystander. Ever heard that phrase before? That's a good phrase. What if I lived next door to, I don't know, John Wayne Gacy? And every morning we saw each other as we walked out to get in our cars, and I said, "Good morning, John." And the FBI was suspicious that John, Mr. Gacy, that John Wayne Gacy was up to something nefarious. So they had him under surveillance, and they made a note every time I said, "Good morning, John," in passing. And when everything was over, my name appeared in the Gacy files 11,000 times. Does that make me a serial killer too? For being polite to a neighbor? I mean, it's so silly when you actually do the math. If I said it every morning, 5 days a week, in order to appear in the Gacy files 11,000 times, I'd only have to say "Good morning, John" to John Wayne Gacy for 42 years. We'd probably say hi if we saw each other over the weekend, too. I just don't think 11,000 times is that many. Wilt Chamberlain said that's probably a bad example for this.